Good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. It's now 9:02. I thank you so much for joining us here for our first Pitchley Pointer section of the new year. Happy New Year, everyone. Pitchley Pointers is our monthly webinar series where we share tips and tricks on how to get the most out of your Pitchley account. So my name is Jamie Addison. I work here in client success, and I'm joined by my colleague, Savannah Coatridge, who also works in client success with me. So a few housekeeping tips before we get started. We do have the lines muted, but we will be opening them up at the end of the session so that you can ask any questions that you may have. Feel free to drop them in the Q&A box as we move along, because we'll monitor those as well. And then also at the end of this session, you'll receive a short survey where we just want to hear your feedback on how we did. And more importantly, we want to hear your suggestions for future topics so that we make this meaningful for you. So just without further ado, we'll jump into a quick agenda to cover the things that we're going to be talking about today. So we do want to go over what is Pitchley. This is just for anyone who may be new to their organization or maybe just new to their company's Pitchley account. And then today our focus will be on document templates. So how do you install the documents application? How do you create and update templates? And then how do you add those templates to the records within your database? So that's going to be what we're going to cover and focus on today. So what is Pitchley? Pitchley is a cloud-based solution that allows you to collect and store information across your organization with the ultimate goal of creating one source of truth. So you can get out of those spreadsheets, those presentations, and the other firm systems that you're referencing and just use Pitchley to absorb all that data and create that one source of truth. The great thing with Pitchley is it doesn't stop at that database, but it allows you to transform that data. And that's going to be the focus of what we talk about today. So you can take that data and transform it into a collection of tombstones, biographies, case studies, proposals, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and jump into an account and walk through how do you create document templates. Okay, you should be seeing my Pitchley screen now. Okay, so the first thing that I want to touch on is quickly, how do you install the documents application if it's not already appearing in a database? So I'll click on to a fresh database. And what you do is navigate to the more options, which is available in these three little buttons on the top of your database tab. Click more options, go to install apps, and here it'll display all of the apps that are available for your organization. So just click on documents, click install, and then it becomes immediately available to you in that particular database. So you install this application or any application you want to use for that matter onto the database table that you're going to be working on. So that's how you quickly install the application. So now I'm going to jump into another database just to show you how do you add new templates. I think that's one of the most important things that people want to know and learn when they do jump into Pitchley is how do they transform that data. So once you have that documents application installed, you click on the documents application and then go to manage templates. When you click on manage templates, you'll see any templates that are already available to your organization. If you just install this fresh, you won't see anything here. You'll have the option to create a new template. So we'll first touch on how do you create a new template. So just click on new template, and then you'll have this blank canvas that's available to you. This is your page. So this page can be any size that you want it to be, and that's controlled by this panel over on the right-hand side of your screen that says page. Click on that and it'll allow you to update the dimensions of the page. So here by default, it has the standard size of what a typical tombstone would be. However, you can change this. There are a lot of preset sizes that are available to allow you to create a full page document if that's what you'd like to do, or you can customize the dimensions and enter the specific height and width that you choose in pixels. We'll keep this for the sake of our example. You can also change the background color of the page. You can add a border. Let's go ahead and throw a border onto this document. And then you can change the thickness of that border. We're going to make ours 1 pixel. The other thing that you'll see here on the right-hand side is the layers. So each time you add an element to this page, that layer is going to appear in this panel. So how do you add elements to the template? Here on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the options to do so. You can insert text, images, shapes, and the most powerful is text and images from your actual database. So let's go ahead and throw in a few fields. If you click on the insert text from database, you'll have the ability to search for here in the search bar, the fields from your database, or you can scroll and select the items that you like to include. So a typical field is the client name. You can drag and drop these into a specific position as they are added, or you can use your arrow keys on your keyboard and toggle them up and down into a specific position. All right, let's add a few more for our example. Let's do a date field. So we're going to do the deal close date. And again, you can just add those. You can decrease and increase the size of them. You can also control the formatting of them. So this formatting bar up on top allows you to increase and decrease the font size. You can also change the actual font of the element if you choose to. You can also control the color, the style, whether the text is bolded or italicized, as well as the alignment. So it's very powerful as far as the options you have. So let's go ahead and add a few more fields. I'm going to create a tombstone for our example. So I want to have a tombstone description. I'm going to make that text just a slightly larger, and then you can also add, so as you increase this, think of this as accommodation for the lines. So I'm going to make this, accommodate a few lines of text, and keep in mind that if the record containing this tombstone description, let's say if that record contain 2 paragraphs, but I'm making a placeholder to accommodate maybe 5 lines of text, then that text, when I export it out of the system, it's going to overrun this text box. So keep that in the back of your head as you're creating your templates, that your placeholder that you insert here needs to accommodate the size of the text that you're going to be storing within your specific record. So let's go ahead and put an image in this as well. So I'm going to include a placeholder for our client logo. Again, your image is going to adjust to the size of the placeholder that you include within your template. And then another element that I like to add is the amount. So we're trying to make this as realistic as possible. These are actual things that we see clients include on their actual live tombstone. So we're going to use those for the sake of our example. A cool thing when you add values and numbers to your templates, you have the opportunity to adjust the formatting of those values. If you come over here, each time we've added an item to our database, this panel here has been activated. So here I have additional formatting options. I can change the formatting of my currency to any of these options stored within this panel. So I'm going to choose this formatting option, and that's going to be the layout that displays on all of the tombstones that I choose to assign to this template. I can actually, like I said, this panel is activated. I can actually, from this view, change the element or that layer and select a different layer if I wanted to, just within this panel. So if you choose something and you say, oh no, I don't really want that, that element, I want to change it to something else, I can do that within this view on this right-hand panel as well. So that's pretty cool. Another thing that you can do is add shapes. So let's go ahead and add an example of a shape. I'm going to add a bar that comes across the bottom of this tombstone deal value amount. So again, you just get creative as you need to be with this, or you want to be. Let's see, we're going to make that color match our border. And then I told you this layer panel here over on the right, you can drag and drop your layers into position. So you see when I made that bar, I covered up my deal amount. So I have a couple of different ways to push this bar to the back so that my deal amount comes to the front. I can either select to move that to the back with these options here, bring forward or move to the back, or I can drag and drop these layers here on the side. So now you see that my deal value amount did come up to that first position. If you hold your control key and toggle with your arrow keys, you can move these elements by 1 pixel amount. By default, if you do not have your control key held down, these items are going to move by 3 pixels, I believe, but you can get a finer and closer fit by holding down that control key and toggling. You can, like I said before, change the coloring of your elements. So let's go ahead and make this deal value amount white. So if I click on this and I can either enter the values for the colors that I want, or you can drag and drop into position. So I'll make that white for this example. And then another powerful thing that you have when you're creating these templates is that you can add conditional layers. So one important thing and common thing that we see across our clients is that they may have clients that are confidential and that they may not want their name disclosed, but the company still would like to highlight that piece of work. So within these templates, you don't have to manage that on an ad hoc basis one by one. You can control that and build that logic directly into the template. So let's say I have a generic description of a client name that I want to include if a client is confidential and does not want their name disclosed, right? So what I can say is to insert a conditional layer. So by default, my clients are fine with disclosing their name. So by default, I'll say disclose the client name. However, if for some reason that client name is confidential, I'm going to add in the field where I'm storing my confidential client name. So the descriptive name, if client is confidential, I'll add in another layer for that. I'm going to drag it in that same position of where my client name is stored. And then I'm going to set the logic here on this left-hand panel, or right-hand panel, I'm sorry. So again, by default, you're going to display the client name. However, on the conditional block, you edit that here by clicking on this pencil and saying, if client confidential, these are all fields that are stored within this particular database. So if that equals yes, then instead of displaying that client name, what I want to instead be displayed is the descriptive name of the client. So you just drag and drop these into the position. And so now if that client name is confidential for that specific record, it's going to display that descriptive name instead of the actual client name. You can do the same thing with the logo. So let's add another conditional layer. So if the client by default display that client logo, however, if it's confidential, let's just insert an image, confidential logo, drag and drop this into the same position as the other logo field. However, set that conditional block. So again, if this client is marked as confidential, then instead of displaying the actual logo for that client, just display this image so that whoever is using that end user can decide then if they want to actually use this confidential logo and tombstone or not. So we can go ahead and save this template, create a name. You do have to enter a name of your template in order to save it. Click save. And then when we go back out to our templates area, we'll see our new template here that's been created. And then more importantly, let's talk about how we assign this template to an actual record. So you'd come back out to your main database view, navigate to your template field. This field stores every single template that you've created in that manage templates field. It immediately becomes available as a drop-down option in this list. When you initially add the documents application to your database, nothing's going to be populated here. But as you create new templates will automatically be added to this list. And so you come to the list, select the name of your template. You can update this singular item with that new template, or if I wanted to, I could update all of these items with that new template selection. And then flip back over to your documents, and then you'll see the view of what we've created. We see here we have 2 clients that have been marked as confidential, and so that confidential description is appearing along with that confidential logo. Quickly, I want to show you how to edit an existing template. I'm going to just show you a different example really quickly in a different database. So if we come here, we see we have 2 templates that have been set. So if I wanted to edit an existing template, you simply click into it and make any edits that you would like by changing the records, changing the landscape. You can actually even not start from scratch when you make your templates. You could copy a template. So you click into one, click this option to copy. And now this is creating an exact copy of this existing template. You can rename it, make any edits that you like. So let's change the border color for this particular example. And then click save. And now you have a new template that you did not have to start from scratch. You simply copied an existing template. Again, you can go out to your records, select the option to update your template field with this, update the record with this new template, if I can speak, apologies for that. And that immediately becomes available to you to export out of your system. So that covers predominantly what we wanted to walk you through today on updating templates. So let's go ahead and unmute the lines and take any questions that you may have. Just quickly while I'm doing that, I will share with you some frequently asked questions that we hear. One second. And Savannah, if you see the option to unmute everyone quicker than I do, please go ahead and do that. I am looking. Apologies, you all. Please bear with me this morning.
I don't think I could do it on my end.
Oh,
This is
Allison, are
Allison.
you here?
I did it.
You
Oh,
did
you
it.
did it?
Thank you
Okay.
so much. I was struggling there for a second. I have too many things open. And so, yes, anyone, if you have questions, please unmute yourselves and ask away. We are here for you.
We're really good at Pitchley, but maybe not as good at Zoom.
And we should be by now. We've only been using it for forever. So my apologies, you guys. One common question that we often have is sometimes people may have different layouts for their images. So for example, I'll show you an example here. For these images, they're circles instead of squares. And so to update the layout of your image, that's controlled within the actual record. So if you do want an alternative layout for your image, you need to store that directly in the record. So we have a square layout, a circle layout. If you want something that's more landscape, then you would have to upload that layout to the actual record, and then it would populate to your templates. So that's a common question that we come across. Another thing that we commonly hear is, why does my font size in my template not match what's actually exported? So just to show you an example of how that works, these items, they will automatically scale based on the number of items you've selected to include on your page at export. So if I decide to include 10 to 12 items, a bunch of different items on my page, as those items increase, the text of my my font within the actual tombstone is going to decrease to accommodate the increase of items you've added to that page, right? So, as I decrease the items that appear on the page, then that font is going to be more true to size on what I selected within my actual template. So you do, in some instances, have to have some trial and error to get the items just so as you're accommodating to match your specific PowerPoint templates that you have within your company. That's another common question we have. And another one that I kind of touched on is, if you run across instances where your text is overrunning your placeholder, then go back to that record and look at the contents of that record. Like, do you have 2 paragraphs and a placeholder that's accommodating like 3 lines of text? So that's kind of when you run into issues there. But if anybody has any other questions that they can think of, please come off mute and ask away. And if not, no worries. We also have our resource center here that's available on all accounts. Just click that little Pitchley plane in the bottom right-hand corner. You can access our help center that has tons of different articles and videos that are available to you. And then, as always, you can always email our support team at pitchleysupport@pitchley.com, and a member of the team will follow up with you. So if there is not anything that anyone can think to ask right now, that's all right. I will let you go. Please, again, give us feedback in that survey that you'll receive. We'll love to hear from you, and we will see you again here next month. Thank you for joining, and have a wonderful rest of the day.